Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, and namaste. Cousin Vinny here, Divine Disruptors, System Busters, Party of Solutionists, and Department of Compassion. First video on recovery, year 10. You'll notice with these new videos that I'm not only going to show you the issues and challenges and problems, but we are also going to jump into solutions. Ooh, there's a nice solution. Here's one from Brad. Go see Brad on Zero Brad.
5 United States foods that are banned in other countries, part 1. Hit the follow button first and watch until the end because it's going to blow your mind. Number 1 on the list is Mountain Dew because it contains brominated vegetable oil. And that contains bromine, which can cause headaches, memory loss, and impair balance. Number 2 is Skittles because they contain artificial colors yellow 5 and yellow 6. Banned in Norway and Sweden because they're thought to cause allergic reactions and hyperactivity in children. Number 3 is Instant Mashed Potatoes because they contain a preservative known as butylated hydroxyanisole, or BHA. It's also found in rubber and wax food packaging and known to be a human carcinogen. Number 4 is bread products like Pillsbury breadsticks and those $5 footlongs. They contain azodicarbonamide, which is used to make yoga mats and shoe soles. Meditate on that for a second. And number 5 is U.S. pork because it contains a drug known as ractopamine. It's a feed additive that increases food conversion efficiency in farm animals. Follow me for shit like this.
Incredible! Like I said, Mr. Brad over at Television 17. Here's a little bit more of
You understand
things
why capitalism inherently
you should
creates
not
a conflict
consume.
of interest between consumer, worker and capitalist? What do I mean by that? Well, it is always of the interest of a capitalist to grow their business and profits. This is directly opposed to what the consumer and the workers need and want. For example, in Europe, they have a lot of ingredients in food that are banned because they cause health problems. Now the capitalists want to use these ingredients because they likely are cheaper, addictive, and therefore more profitable. But they also cause health problems long term. Now given the choice, American food industries have chosen to continue to use these ingredients. Now why would they do that? Because with the stock market, you can own portions of the health industry as well as the food industry. So when people become addicted to health issue-causing foods, they can profit off of the healthcare they will require as well. This is happening today. This scenario plays out in every industry, cutting corners for profit at the expense of the people's health and wallet. This is totally unethical, but completely legal and rewarded behavior in USA.
Once again, there's a solution. Domes.
George Washington University are calling for stronger regulations after finding phthalates and replacement plasticizers in more than 80% of the popular fast foods they tested. National chains like McDonald's, Domino's, and Chipotle all have something in common, according to new research: dangerous chemicals found in the food.
The regulations for phthalates don't make sense.
Dr. Lariah Edwards is the lead researcher of the study that analyzed fast food, finding phthalates and other plasticizers leaching into the food we eat. The chemicals are used to make plastic soft for food packaging, processing equipment, and handling gloves.
They are banned in toys, but they're not regulated in food contact materials or in cosmetics. So from our study, we're seeing that we found these chemicals in our foods, and that's a concern.
The study builds on previous research that found people who reported eating more fast food had higher levels of phthalates in their system.
Chemicals that we are putting into our everyday products are affecting the way our hormone systems run, and they're having adverse effects.
The effects of phthalates range from reproduction issues to diabetes and behavioral problems in children, and it could be felt more acutely in areas where there's limited access to healthier food options.
Fast food is so much more available, accessible, affordable among low-income communities. We need to fix that problem as well.
The FDA says it is reviewing
Well, there you have it. More goodies in your food. Here's a good one by the National Library of Medicine.
Scientists have been designing ways to put their so-called vaccines in the food supply. And it seems they may have created an avenue to begin this. Brought to you by the American Chemical Society and 4 scientists from communist China, Functional hybrid micro nano entities are being implemented to promote food safety, to detect hazardous substances in agricultural food products. They are putting in experimental hazardous substances. Molecular imprinting polymers integrated with quantum dots installs a surveillance platform into your food and body. Molecular imprinting polymers integrated with upconversion luminescent nanoparticles conducts chemical analysis of your food and body. Upconversion luminescent nanoparticles combined with metal organic frameworks are tunable porous metals that have the power to regulate the dispensing of nutrition to comply with international mandates. Magnetic metal organic frameworks are metal frameworks designed for targeting drug delivery. Magnetic covalent organic frameworks are used for sensing food in the human body. And covalent organic frameworks doped with quantum dots are used for detection of insecticides. If they wanted to regulate healthy food, they would promote organic growing, not inject a cocktail of metallic nanotech into the entire food supply.
And so what you know I'm leading up to is growing your own food. Many reasons. The hydroponic systems, grow your own fish.
Needs to engage in this? Well, it can be USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. So not necessarily those specific human targets with a particular type of weaponized biological weapon, but also if we look at food security and what can our adversaries do with biological weapons that are directed at our animal.
I put this part in here because there are people throughout our realm that are working on solutions and secure solutions to our food and its growth.
Agriculture at our agricultural sector. Hoof and mouth disease, highly pathogenic avian influenza, African swine fever. All of these things have circulated around the globe, but if targeted by an adversary, we know that it brings about food insecurity. Food insecurity drives a lot of other insecurities around the globe. So a few years ago, I had a big fight in the NDAA where we were talking about putting in protections for our food sources here in the United States. But once you paint food security as a national security, it got included. So, there's a number of ways we can look at biological weapons and the need to make sure not only are we securing human beings, but then also the food that will sustain us.
Now this one here is a very important video. He starts off with a little bit of a disclosure followed by a solution, and that's what we're all about, not just the issues, problems, challenges, but what we're going to put forth in the near future as far as solutions, and this gentleman has some pretty good ideas. Listen up.
There is a weaponized scarcity of the food supply that's taking place. For example, the USDA is paying farmers to destroy their crops.
I come from, again, a country, Venezuela. The inflation rate in Venezuela is almost 700%. Here in the United States, it's claimed that it is a little bit over 7%, which quite frankly, I question that because like many noticed, in some instances, I'm seeing twice as much.
Hyperinflation is only a symptom of what's coming in. And you're right, the official inflation numbers in America are a government lie. They're claiming 7%. No, it's 20+%. Food prices have risen in many cases 50%, and they're likely to go up another 50% or more this year. So official inflation is just a deception. And people know that when you buy a car now, or you fill up your fuel tank, or you go to the grocery store, you're paying often double what you paid just 2 years ago. As an economic issue, we're starting to see governors and mayors say, well, we'll hand out debit cards to people to cover the rising costs of fuel or food. The problem is, yeah, you can print money, but you can't print wheat. You can't print commodities, so the scarcity can't be solved by just giving money to people. That's only going to make the inflation worse. I store a lot of grains. So I store buckets of wheat and oats and millet and quinoa because I know they have a very long storage life. I store some amount of meat in the freezer, but I know that I'm going to need to preserve that if we lose electricity. So I'm preparing to either dry that or make jerky or smoke that meat. And I'm doing canning and salting and pickling of vegetables as well, and also fermentation. So in terms of percentages, not a lot of meat, but I also live in Texas and I'm surrounded by other people who have cows. And I'm pretty sure I could barter with them because I'm really good at growing vegetables in my hydroponic systems that use no electricity. So I'll grow all kinds of vegetables and natural medicines, and I'll barter for beef and hamburger if necessary. That's my plan. Saving seeds is absolutely critical. I do that. I always let some of my lettuce plants bolt and go to seed, and then I harvest the seeds and use those to plant the next generation. In terms of crops that can actually keep you alive, potatoes are number one on the list in terms of the calorie return versus the calorie inputs that you have to put into that in order to grow that crop. A lot of crops, such as celery, for example, don't produce near enough calories to make it worthwhile. But then there are a lot of herbs that can be used to make herbal antibiotics. So you're growing them for a different reason. And you do need more than carbohydrates to live. You need phytonutrients from all kinds of different plants. So I'm growing a lot of basil right now. And basil is a very potent pro-heart cardiovascular herb, as well as a wonderful spice. And I have free-range eggs from my chickens. And there's a traditional dish in Taiwan where I lived for a couple of years. And you combine basil with kind of like pan-fried eggs, and you have kind of like a basil omelet, but it's also medicine. So we have to think about that balance between growing medicine and then growing calories. And you've got to accomplish both of those in order to be sustainable.
So I know how to farm. I've got this little plot of land, and I've been farming for years. And within the last 2 years, I can't grow anything.
Rainwater is by far the best thing to grow with. In the sky, you don't get heavy metals. You don't get really anything. If there is any particulate matter in the sky, it flushes out in the first minute of rain, and then all the rain after that is really clean water. So I recommend rainwater for plants as well as for your own consumption. I only drink rainwater, by the way. That's all I drink. We are about to face the most difficult time that we've ever lived through. We're going to have to be incredibly determined, resilient, and informed in order to make it through this.
Mr. Mike Adams. I will be playing that video in several episodes coming up. He absolutely has wonderful ideas on how we need to take growing food forward. I'm going to show some greenhouse technologies. I will be showing how to build smaller. For an example, this is a sped up video of growing lettuce, self-contained with lights, in a probably cost less than $20 for each one of these systems. And as you can see, they're very efficient. I believe this one has a spray set up underneath that is allowing a mist of nutrients to continuously touch the roots of this lettuce. And so that's a small system that could actually be set up in most people's closets. As I go through the recovery videos, we have several subjects Spirit decided that we were going to tackle the most important issue, in my opinion, and that is food. We will get into housing, monetary systems, health, education, energy, government, and other topics. But for this first video, I just wanted to expose a little bit of what's going on with the poisoning of our food systems, and I will put more videos out regarding the dark side, but at the same time I want to make sure that this series offers solutions to the current problems. As we get into understanding, or I should say understanding, the issues with what's currently in the foods we eat. Once the 100th monkey understands that issue, there will be a turnkey, and the collective will make a decision to grow their own food and their own medicine via herbs and spices and whatnot. So, problem, you don't have to dive too deep. You can find out that through many on-purpose actions that our fuel food has been turned into worthless eating. So, once we make the decision to turn and start to do this for ourselves, as we introduce greenhouse technologies, hydroponics, aquaponics, and many different ways that you can grow locally, and then as Mike, or what's his name, said, that the bartering system, you got Joe over there making eggs, and you got Bob over there doing the tomato thing. Maybe Jill and her husband down the street are growing cucumbers and lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, make your own pickles. Well, like I said, it would be kind of nice to not have consumption of food fuel have to take place in a big old grocery store where most of that food has no more life force in it and causes you to become sick. So I like this video. I've been growing those tomatoes. Well, I got 2 years out of 3 plants. Continuous growth in my greenhouse. These systems here on the left, of course, was aquaponics. As it was mentioned earlier, basil is not only great for growing for your own consumption, adding, making pestos, but it has extremely high health contents, antioxidants and whatnot. And believe it or not, you can take one bush of basil and within a few weeks you can actually get about 20, 30 separate plants out of one. This sped up video here shows that in a very short time 288 basil bunches per week. That's a good thing to trade or sell locally to your restaurants and whatnot. So there's a business opportunity. I'm in this for the solution, not for the monetary gains that many people will actually reap the benefits of. You know, $3 a piece, 150 bucks. So anyway, that's my first video of the recovery, and I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully it'll get better as I get better. Namaste, peace, love, and let's grow some food.